The glass doors of First Horizon Bank hissed shut behind Marcus Tate, sealing him into the sterile hum of corporate ambition. His polished loafers clicked against the marble floor, each step a reminder of the weight he carried. 32. Single. And clawing his way up the ladder in Manhattan's cutthroat financial world. Today, though, something felt off, like a storm brewing behind the clear September sky. Marcus adjusted his tie, his reflection flickering in the mirrored wall of the loan office. He was good at this, reading people, calculating risks, making decisions that kept the bank's profits soaring. But when he sat across from Jordan Ellis that morning, his instincts faltered. Jordan, a black man in his late 30s with a quiet intensity, had applied for a substantial business loan to expand his tech startup. His pitch was flawless, detailed projections, a solid business plan, and a charisma that filled the room. Yet Marcus's gut twisted. The numbers were risky, and something about Jordan's confidence, his unapologetic presence, unsettled him. Marcus denied the loan, citing insufficient collateral, though he knew the decision was more personal than professional. He couldn't pinpoint why, but it gnawed at him as Jordan left, his handshake firm but his eyes cold. By noon, Marcus was buried in emails when his phone buzzed with a calendar invite, emergency staff meeting. 2 p.m. Conference room A. No details. Just a directive from the bank CEO, Evelyn Carter. Marcus frowned. Evelyn was a legend, sharp, uncompromising, and newly appointed after a corporate shakeup. Rumors swirled about her private life, but Marcus didn't care for gossip. He cared about results, and Evelyn's track record promised exactly that. The conference room was a sea of pressed suits and nervous glances when Marcus arrived. Evelyn stood at the head of the table, her auburn hair pulled back, her presence commanding silence. "Good afternoon," she began, her voice like steel wrapped in velvet. "I'm here to introduce someone who will change the trajectory of First Horizon." She gestured to the man beside her, and Marcus's breath caught. Jordan Ellis stepped forward, his tailored navy suit accentuating his broad shoulders, his smile both warm and razor-sharp. "This is Jordan Ellis," Evelyn said, "our new Chief Innovation Officer. He'll be leading our digital transformation and reporting directly to me." Murmurs rippled through the room, but Marcus barely heard them. His pulse hammered. The man he'd dismissed hours ago was now his superior, and, judging by the gold band glinting on Jordan's left hand, someone significant in Evelyn's life. Marcus's mind raced. Had Jordan mentioned their meeting to Evelyn? Would this cost him his promotion to senior loan officer, the one he'd been chasing for years? He forced himself to clap along with the others, but his palms were slick with sweat. Jordan's gaze swept the room, lingering on Marcus for a split second, long enough to make his stomach lurch. After the meeting, Marcus lingered, hoping to catch Jordan alone. He needed to explain, to salvage whatever professional respect might remain. As the room emptied, Jordan lingered by the window, scrolling through his phone. Marcus approached, clearing his throat. "Mr. Ellis, congratulations on your new role." Jordan looked up, his expression unreadable. "Thank you, Marcus. I'm looking forward to working with you." His tone was polite but carried an edge, like a blade wrapped in silk. Before Marcus could respond, Evelyn appeared, slipping her arm through Jordan's with a familiarity that confirmed his suspicion. "Marcus," she said, her smile tight, "I trust you'll support Jordan's vision. We're counting on you." As they walked away, Marcus caught the glint of matching wedding bands. His heart sank. Jordan wasn't just his new boss, she was Evelyn's husband. The man he denied a loan to, possibly out of bias he hadn't yet confronted, held his career in his hands. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. His Brooklyn apartment felt too small. The city's hum a relentless reminder of his mistake. He replayed the loan meeting in his mind, Jordan's steady voice. The way he'd leaned forward, passionate about his startup. Marcus had dismissed him, not because of the numbers, but because of something deeper, something he was ashamed to name. Growing up in a small Ohio town, he'd absorbed prejudices he thought he'd left behind. Now, they stared him in the face, wearing a suit and a title that could ruin him. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the bank early, determined to make amends. He drafted an email to Jordan, requesting a meeting to discuss collaboration opportunities. But before he could hit send, his desk phone rang. It was Evelyn's assistant. Mr. Tate, MS. Carter and Mr. Ellis would like to see you in her office. Now. Marcus's stomach churned as he rode the elevator to the executive floor. The glass walls of Evelyn's office revealed her and Jordan seated side by side, their expressions unreadable. He knocked, his heart pounding. Come in, Evelyn called. Marcus, she began, her tone neutral. We need to discuss your decision on Jordan's loan application. Jordan leaned back, his eyes locked on Marcus, waiting. The room felt like it was closing in. I made a mistake, Marcus blurted, surprising himself. I underestimated the potential of your proposal. Mr. Ellis, I'd like to revisit it, if you're willing. The words felt like a lifeline, fragile but honest. Jordan raised an eyebrow, and for the first time, Marcus saw a flicker of curiosity in his gaze. Evelyn exchanged a glance with Jordan, then nodded. We appreciate your candor. Marcus, Jordan's startup is now under First Horizon's innovation portfolio, so your role in supporting it will be critical. She paused, her eyes softening. We all have biases to unlearn. What matters is what you do next. As Marcus left the office, relief battled with shame. He'd dodged a bullet, but the real work was just beginning. Jordan's startup wasn't just a business, it was a vision for change. One Marcus had nearly derailed. He vowed to prove himself, not just to Jordan, but to the part of himself he'd ignored for too long. Weeks passed, and Marcus threw himself into his work, determined to redeem his earlier misstep. Jordan's startup, Nexus Tech, aimed to provide affordable digital tools to underserved communities, a mission that both inspired and humbled Marcus. He spent late nights analyzing data, refining loan terms, and pitching Jordan's vision to the bank's board. Yet every interaction with Jordan felt like walking a tightrope, one wrong move, and he'd fall. Jordan was professional but distant, his warmth reserved for team meetings where his passion for Nexus Tech shone. Marcus noticed how Jordan's eyes lit up when he spoke about bridging the digital divide, about empowering kids in places like Harlem or rural Georgia. It stirred something in Marcus, a mix of admiration and unease. He wanted Jordan's respect, but more than that, he wanted to understand him. One evening, Marcus stayed late, poring over Nexus Tech's financials. The office was quiet, the city's glow filtering through the blinds. He didn't hear Jordan approach until he spoke. You're here late. Marcus, Marcus startled, nearly spilling his coffee. Just making sure everything's solid for the board presentation. He hesitated, then added, "Your project's incredible. I should have seen that sooner." Jordan studied him, his expression softening. "You're making up for it now? That counts." He sat on the edge of Marcus's desk, his presence filling the space. "Why'd you say no that day? Be honest." The question hit like a punch. Marcus swallowed, his throat dry. "I don't know. The numbers were tight. But I think I let something else cloud my judgment. Something I'm not proud of." He couldn't say the word bias, but it hung between them. Jordan nodded slowly. "Takes guts to admit that. Most people don't." He stood. But before leaving, he added, "Evelyn and I are hosting a team dinner tomorrow. You should come. Might help you see me as more than a file." Marcus arrived at the dinner feeling like an outsider. Evelyn and Jordan's brownstone in Brooklyn was warm and eclectic, filled with art and books that spoke of their shared life. The team mingled, laughter mingling with the clink of wine glasses. Marcus hovered near the edge, watching Jordan and Evelyn move in sync, her hand brushing his arm, his smile lighting up at her touch. Their love was undeniable, a quiet strength that made Marcus feel both envious and inspired. As the night wore on, Jordan found him on the patio. The city's hum a soft backdrop. "You're quiet tonight," Jordan said, offering him a beer. "Just taking it all in," Marcus replied, his voice low. "You and Evelyn, you got something real." Jordan chuckled, his eyes softening. "Took us a while to get here. We met in college, back when I was figuring out who I was. Being a black gay man in tech isn't exactly a clear path. Evelyn saw me, though. Always has." Marcus nodded, the weight of his earlier judgment pressing harder. "I misjudged you, Jordan. I'm sorry." Jordan took a sip of his beer, his gaze steady. "Apology accepted. But don't just apologizito better. That's what matters." The conversation shifted something in Marcus. He began seeking Jordan out, not just for work, but for perspective. They talked over coffee, debated strategy in boardrooms. And slowly, a cautious respect grew. Marcus saw Jordan's brilliance, his resilience, and the way he navigated a world that often tried to diminish him. It made Marcus question his own assumptions, not just about Jordan, but about himself. One afternoon, while reviewing Nexus Tech's community outreach plan, Marcus noticed a photo on Jordan's desk, him and Evelyn at a pride parade. Rainbow flags vibrant against a gray city backdrop. "That was our first pride together," Jordan said, catching Marcus's glance. "Evelyn dragged me out of my shell. Best decision I ever made." Marcus smiled, but a pang hit him. He'd never been to a pride event, never questioned why. Growing up, he'd been taught to keep his head down, to fit in. Now, he wondered what he'd missed. As Nexus Tech's launch neared, Marcus worked harder, driven by a need to prove himself. But late at night, alone in his apartment, he couldn't shake a growing realization. His admiration for Jordan was shifting, deepening into something he didn't dare name. It wasn't just respect, it was attraction, a pull he'd never felt so strongly. It terrified him, not because Jordan was a man, but because he was married, his boss, and someone Marcus had wronged. The launch of Nexus Tech was a whirlwind. The bank's conference center buzzed with investors, tech journalists, and community leaders, all gathered to see Jordan's vision come to life. Marcus stood at the back, watching Jordan command the stage. His voice was steady, his passion infectious as he unveiled a platform that would bring coding boot camps to underserved schools. The crowd erupted in applause, and Marcus felt a swell of pride and something deeper, something he pushed down. After the event, Evelyn pulled Marcus aside. "You've done good work, Marcus. Jordan speaks highly of you." Her words were kind, but her gaze was piercing, like she saw more than he wanted her to. "Keep it up." Marcus nodded, but his mind was on Jordan, who was across the room, shaking hands with a senator. Their eyes met briefly, and Jordan's smile felt personal, like a secret shared. Marcus's chest tightened. He needed air. Outside, the Manhattan night was crisp, the city alive with possibility. Marcus leaned against a lamppost, his breath visible in the cool air. He was falling for Jordan, and it was a disaster. Jordan was married, successful, and out of reach. Worse, Marcus's feelings felt like a betrayal not just of Jordan and Evelyn, but of the man he thought he was. The next day, Marcus threw himself into work, hoping to drown his emotions. But Jordan noticed his distance. During a late meeting, he cornered Marcus. "You've been off lately. Everything okay?" Marcus hesitated, his heart racing. "Just focused on the project." He lied. Jordan didn't push, but his eyes lingered, searching. Marcus wanted to confess, to spill everything, but fear held him back. Instead, he channeled his energy into Nexus Tech. He volunteered to lead community outreach, visiting schools in the Bronx to promote the program. The kids' excitement was contagious, their dreams raw and unfiltered. It reminded Marcus of Jordan's passion, and it fueled his own. He began to see the world through Jordan's eyes, a place where barriers could be broken, where everyone deserved a shot. One evening, after a long day at a community center, Marcus and Jordan grabbed burgers at a diner. The neon lights cast a warm glow over Jordan's face, and Marcus couldn't look away. "You're good with those kids," Jordan said, his smile genuine. "Didn't expect that from a numbers guy?" Marcus laughed, relaxing for the first time in weeks. "I'm learning. You make it look easy." "It's not," Jordan admitted. "But it's worth it. You're starting to get that, aren't you?" Marcus nodded, his throat tight. He wanted to say more, to tell Jordan how he'd changed him. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, they talked about the project, their childhoods, their dreams. Marcus learned Jordan had grown up in Atlanta, raised by a single mom who worked 2 jobs. His drive came from her, from a need to make her sacrifices mean something. Marcus shared his own story, small town Ohio, a father who valued stability over passion. For the first time, Marcus felt seen, not as a banker or a screw-up, but as himself. As they parted ways, Jordan clapped him on the shoulder. "You're doing good, Marcus. Don't doubt that." The touch lingered, and Marcus's heart ached with what he couldn't say. Back home, Marcus faced his reflection in the bathroom mirror. He was 32, successful, and utterly lost. His feelings for Jordan were undeniable, but they were also impossible. He thought of Evelyn, of the life she and Jordan had built. He thought of his own life. The safe choices he'd made to avoid questions he wasn't ready to answer. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the bank to find an email from Jordan. "Meet me at the community center tonight." Got an idea? Intrigued, Marcus agreed. When he arrived, the center was empty except for Jordan, who stood in the gym, a basketball in hand. "Thought we could use a break," Jordan said, tossing him the ball. They played one-on-one, laughing and trash-talking, the tension between them easing. For a moment, Marcus forgot his turmoil, lost in the rhythm of the game. But when Jordan stole the ball, their hands brushed, and Marcus froze. Jordan noticed, his eyes narrowing. "You sure you're okay?" Marcus wanted to lie, but the truth spilled out. "I'm not. I feel something for you, Jordan. I know it's wrong, and I'm sorry." The gym went silent, the air heavy. Jordan's expression was unreadable, and Marcus braced for rejection or worse. Jordan set the basketball down, his movements deliberate. The gym's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, amplifying the silence. Marcus's confession hung between them, raw and exposed, and he regretted it instantly. "I shouldn't have said that," he stammered, stepping back. "I'll go." "Wait." Jordan's voice was firm but not unkind. He crossed his arms, his gaze steady. "You don't get to drop that and run. Talk to me." Marcus's heart pounded, his palms clammy. "There's nothing to say. You're married. You're my boss. I messed up, and I'll deal with it." He turned toward the door, but Jordan stepped in front of him. "You think this is easy for me?" Jordan said, his voice low. "You think I don't see you trying, changing, becoming someone I respect?" "But Marcus, I love Evelyn. She's my world." "I know," Marcus whispered, his chest tight. "I'd never ask you to change that. I just needed you to know." Jordan exhaled, running a hand over his face. "I appreciate your honesty, but we've got work to do, and we can't let this mess it up. Can you handle that?" Marcus nodded, though it felt like a lie. "Yeah, I can." The next few weeks were torture. Marcus kept his distance, focusing on Nexus Tech's rollout. The platform was gaining traction, with schools across New York signing up. Jordan was everywhere in calls, in meetings, his energy relentless. Marcus admired him more with every passing day, which only deepened his pain. He threw himself into work, hoping to bury his feelings, but they lingered like a bruise. Evelyn noticed the shift. During a strategy session, she pulled Marcus aside. "You're doing great work, but you seem off. Anything I should know?" Marcus forced a smile. "Just pushing hard for the launch." "I'm fine." But her eyes lingered, and he wondered if she sensed the truth. One night, Marcus attended a fundraiser for Nexus Tech at a downtown hotel. The ballroom was packed, the air thick with wealth and influence. Jordan and Evelyn were the center of attention, their chemistry magnetic. Marcus watched from the bar, nursing a whiskey, when a stranger approached a man in his 40s. Handsome, with a warm smile. "You look like you're carrying the world," he said, nodding at Marcus's drink. Marcus laughed, surprised. "Just a long week." "I'm Marcus." "David," the man replied. extending a hand. They talked, and Marcus found himself relaxing. David was a teacher, passionate about education equity, and his enthusiasm reminded Marcus of Jordan. When David asked him to dance, Marcus hesitated, then accepted. The music was slow, the crowd a blur, and for the first time in weeks, Marcus felt light. But as they danced, Marcus caught Jordan watching from across the room. His expression was unreadable, a mix of surprise and something else, jealousy. Marcus's heart skipped, but he pushed the thought away. Jordan had made his boundaries clear. After the fundraiser, Marcus walked David to the subway, their conversation easy. David handed him his number. "Call me sometime. You seem like someone worth knowing." Marcus smiled, pocketing the card. "Maybe I will." Back at his apartment, Marcus stared at David's number. Torn. He wanted to move on, to let go of Jordan. But his heart wasn't ready. He thought of Jordan's life with Evelyn, the love they shared, and felt a pang of guilt. He wasn't that person, the one who broke things apart. The next day, Jordan called Marcus into his office. "Saw you at the fundraiser," he said, his tone casual but his eyes sharp. "You and that guy seemed close." Marcus shrugged, his guard up. "Just someone I met." "Good guy?" Jordan nodded, but his jaw tightened. "Good. You deserve that." He paused, then added, "Evelyn and I are hosting a team retreat this weekend. Upstate. You should come." Marcus agreed, though he wasn't sure why. The retreat was at a cabin in the Catskills, a sprawling place surrounded by pines. The team bonded over hikes and bonfires. But Marcus felt like an outsider, his feelings for Jordan a constant ache. On the second night, he found Jordan alone by the fire, the others asleep. "You've been avoiding me," Jordan said, poking at the embers. Marcus sat beside him, the fire's warmth a contrast to the chill in his chest. "Trying to keep things professional." Jordan nodded, his eyes on the flames. "I get it. But I miss our talks." He hesitated, then added, "You're important to me, Marcus. As a colleague. As a friend." The word friend stung, but Marcus nodded. "You too." They sat in silence, the fire crackling, and Marcus realized he had to let go it just for Jordan, but for himself. Back in Manhattan, Marcus tried to move forward. He called David, and they went out a coffee date, then dinner. David was kind, grounded, and openly gay, his confidence a quiet contrast to Marcus's uncertainty. They talked about their lives, their dreams, and Marcus felt a spark of possibility. But Jordan was always there, a shadow in his thoughts. At work, Nexus Tech's success was undeniable. Articles praised Jordan's vision, and the bank's stock soared. Marcus's role in the project earned him a promotion to senior loan officer, a goal he'd chased for years. But the victory felt hollow. He wanted to share it with Jordan, to see that proud smile. But their interactions were strictly professional now, each conversation clipped and careful. One afternoon, Evelyn called a meeting to discuss Nexus Tech's next phase, international expansion. Marcus presented his financial analysis, his voice steady despite Jordan's presence across the table. Afterward, Jordan lingered. "Great work, Marcus. You've stepped up." "Thanks," Marcus said, his tone neutral. He wanted to say more, to bridge the gap, but the words wouldn't come. That night, Marcus met David at a jazz club in the village. The music was soulful, the crowd intimate. David reached for his hand, and Marcus let him, the warmth grounding him. "You're distracted," David said, his eyes gentle. Marcus sighed. "I'm working through some stuff. Someone at work." David nodded, no judgment in his gaze. "Sounds complicated. But you deserve to be happy, Marcus. Not just chasing someone who can't be yours." The words hit hard. Marcus knew David was right. But letting go of Jordan felt like losing a part of himself. He squeezed David's hand, grateful for his patience. "I'm trying." The next day, Marcus found a note on his desk. "Meet me at the rooftop. 6 p.m. Jordan." His heart raced. The bank's rooftop was a quiet space, often used for informal meetings. When Marcus arrived, Jordan was leaning against the railing, the city sprawling below. "I owe you an apology," Jordan said, turning to face him. "I've been hard on you since what you said. It wasn't fair." Marcus shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. I crossed a line." Jordan stepped closer, his eyes intense. "You didn't. You were honest. That's more than most people manage." He paused, his voice softening. "I care about you, Marcus. More than I should. But Evelyn's my home." Marcus's throat tightened. "I know. And I respect that." Jordan nodded, relief in his eyes. "Let's keep doing good work together. Deal?" "Deal," Marcus said, forcing a smile. As Jordan walked away, Marcus felt a weight lift and a new one settle. He was free to move on, but the ache remained. Over the next few weeks, Marcus leaned into his relationship with David. They explored the city, shared late-night talks, and Marcus began to see a future where he could be himself, unapologetically. David's openness about his identity inspired Marcus to confront his own. He started attending local LGBT events, small steps toward understanding who he was. At work, Marcus and Jordan found a rhythm. They collaborated on Nexus Tech's expansion, their partnership stronger for its boundaries. Marcus admired Jordan's dedication, but he no longer let it consume him. He was building something of his own, a life, an identity, a purpose. One evening, Marcus ran into Evelyn at a coffee shop near the bank. She was alone, her usual poise softened by the casual setting. "Mind if I join you?" she asked. They talked about Nexus Tech, then drifted to personal topics. Evelyn shared stories of her and Jordan's early days, their struggles as an interracial, queer couple. "We fought for this," she said, her eyes distant. "But it's worth it." Marcus nodded, a lump in his throat. "You two are incredible together." Evelyn smiled, but her gaze was knowing. "You're finding your way, aren't you?" He didn't answer, but her words stayed with him. He was finding his way not just in love, but in who he wanted to be. Spring arrived, painting New York in soft greens and vibrant blooms. Marcus's life was shifting. His relationship with David deepened, their dates filled with laughter and quiet moments of connection. David's apartment in Harlem became a second home, its walls lined with books and photos that told his story. Marcus envied that clarity, that sense of self. But he was getting there. At work, Nexus Tech's international rollout was a success, with pilot programs launching in London and Nairobi. Marcus's financial models were praised, earning him a reputation as a rising star. Jordan was a constant presence, but their dynamic had settled into a professional respect. Marcus still felt a pang when he saw Jordan and Evelyn together. But it was softer now, less like a wound and more like a memory. One morning, Jordan called Marcus into his office. "We're hosting a gala to celebrate Nexus Tech's first year," he said. "I'd like you to speak. You've been a big part of this." Marcus was floored. "Me? You sure?" Jordan grinned. "You've earned it. Say yes." Marcus agreed, nerves and pride battling inside him. The gala was a high-profile event, attended by tech moguls, politicians, and community leaders. Marcus spent weeks preparing his speech, wanting to honor Jordan's vision while sharing his own journey. The night of the gala, the ballroom glittered with chandeliers and anticipation. Marcus wore a tailored tux, David at his side in a sharp blazer. They mingled, David's easy charm balancing Marcus's nerves. When Jordan and Evelyn arrived, Marcus introduced them to David. Evelyn's smile was warm, but Jordan's was tighter, his eyes flickering between Marcus and David. "You two look good together," Jordan said, his voice neutral. "Thanks," David replied, his hand on Marcus's back. "Marcus is one of a kind." The speech came after dinner. Marcus took the stage, his heart pounding. He spoke about Nexus Tech's impact, about the kids whose lives were changing because of Jordan's dream. Then he paused, his voice softening. "This project taught me more than numbers. It taught me about courage, about owning your truth, no matter who's watching. I'm still learning, but I'm grateful for the chance to grow." The crowd applauded, and Marcus caught Jordan's eye. There was pride there, and something else, regret. Maybe. Marcus stepped off the stage, David pulling him into a quick hug. "You killed it," David whispered. Later, as the gala wound down, Jordan found Marcus at the bar. "That was a hell of a speech," he said. "You meant it, didn't you?" "Every word," Marcus replied. "You changed me, Jordan. Not just at work." Jordan nodded, his expression conflicted. "You've changed too. I'm proud of you." He hesitated, then added, "Evelyn and I, we're lucky to have you on the team." Marcus smiled, the ache in his chest softer now. "I'm lucky to be here." As he and David left the gala, hand in hand, Marcus felt a sense of freedom. He wasn't fully there yet, but he was closer to the man he wanted to be, someone who faced his truths, who loved without fear. The next day, Marcus found a small pride flag on his desk. No note attached. He knew it was from Jordana, quiet gesture of support. He tucked it into his drawer, a reminder of the journey he was on. Summer brought change. Marcus and David moved in together. Their Harlem apartment, a blend of their lives, David's books, Marcus's vinyl records, a shared space filled with possibility. Marcus was out at work now, his identity no longer a secret. His colleagues were supportive, and Evelyn made a point to check in, her warmth genuine. Nexus Tech was thriving, with new partnerships forming across the globe. Marcus took on more responsibility, leading financial strategy while mentoring new hires. Jordan was a constant collaborator, their partnership stronger than ever. But Marcus noticed a shift in Jordan moments of distraction, a tightness in his smile. He wondered if it was the pressure of work or something deeper. One evening, Marcus and David hosted a dinner for the team. Jordan and Evelyn arrived, their chemistry as strong as ever. But Marcus caught Jordan watching him and David, a flicker of longing in his eyes. It unsettled Marcus, but he brushed it off. Jordan had made his choice, and Marcus had David. After dinner, as the others left, Jordan lingered. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice low. They stepped onto the balcony, the city lights sprawling below. Jordan leaned against the railing, his shoulders tense. "I've been thinking about what you said in the gym, about how you felt." Marcus's heart sank. "Jordan, that's done. I'm with David now." "I know," Jordan said quickly, "and I'm happy for you. But I need to be honest. I felt something too. Back then. I didn't act on it because of Evelyn, but it was there." The confession hit Marcus like a wave. He'd moved on, built a life. But hearing this reopened old wounds. "Why tell me now?" he asked, his voice tight. "Because you deserve to know," Jordan said. "And because I'm trying to be as brave as you were." Marcus shook his head. "You don't get to do this. You're married. You made your choice." Jordan nodded, his eyes glistening. "I did. And I don't regret it. But I needed you to know I saw you." They stood in silence, the weight of their words heavy. Marcus wanted to be angry, but all he felt was sadness for Jordan, for himself, for what could never be. "I'm glad you told me," he said finally. "But I'm building something real with David. I can't go back." Jordan smiled, a mix of relief and regret. "I wouldn't ask you to. Just keep being you, Marcus." They returned to the apartment, the moment tucked away like a secret. Marcus held David's hand, grounding himself in the present. A year after Nexus Tech's launch, Marcus stood at a crossroads. His career was soaring, his relationship with David steady and strong. He was out, proud, and living a life he'd never imagined back in Ohio. But Jordan's confession lingered, a quiet reminder of the choices that shaped them both. The bank hosted a community event in Harlem, celebrating Nexus Tech's impact. Kids from the coding boot camps showcased their projects, their faces alight with pride. Marcus watched from the sidelines, David at his side, as Jordan and Evelyn spoke to the crowd. They were a unit, their love a beacon. Marcus felt a pang, but it was softer now, tempered by his own happiness. After the event, Jordan approached. "You've come a long way, Marcus," he said, his smile genuine. "This program wouldn't be what it is without you." Marcus shook his head. "It's your vision, Jordan. I just helped make it real." Jordan's eyes held his, a silent acknowledgement of their shared journey. "We did it together." As the crowd dispersed, Marcus and David walked through Harlem, the summer air warm and alive. David squeezed his hand. "You okay?" Marcus nodded, his heart full. "Yeah, I'm good." He thought about his journey from the man who denied a loan out of bias To someone who faced his truths, who loved openly, who fought for change. Jordan had been the catalyst, but Marcus had done the work. He'd unlearned his prejudices, embraced his identity, and found a partner who saw him fully. Back home, Marcus pulled out the pride flag from his desk drawer. He placed it on a shelf, a symbol of his growth. The road hadn't been easy, but it was his. He'd made mistakes, but he'd also made amends not just to Jordan, but to himself. As he and David cooked dinner, laughter filling their apartment, Marcus felt a peace he'd never known. He was no longer the businessman defined by ambition or fear. He was Marcus Tayflot, growing, and finally free. The story of him and Jordan wasn't a romance in the traditional sense. It was a story of transformation, of two men challenging each other to be better, to confront their truths in a world that often demanded conformity. And in that, they both found something greater than love. They'd found purpose.